Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. In 1965, we had the pleasure of being introduced to a Western comedy film called Cat Ballou. It starred Jane Fonda and Lee Marvin in the lead roles. And Lee Marvin went on to win an Academy Award for Best Actor in this film. The story is about a prim and proper, innocent girl named Catherine Ballou, who has just returned to her hometown of Wolf City, Wyoming. She plans on starting her working life there as a school teacher. She then learns that an unknown someone is conspiring to force her father off his ranch in the name of development, and that person or people had hired muscle in the form of a vicious tin-nosed Tim Strawn. Frankie and his sole ranch hand are ill-equipped to defend the ranch. As such, Catherine takes it upon herself to fortify themselves in the form of convicted cattle rustler Clay Boone to assist her. He has a completely different motive involved. He wants to get into Cat's bed. He and Clay's associate, Uncle Jed, both end up admitting that they will be little help because they had never fired a gun in their previous crimes. So Cat ends up placing most of her eggs in another basket when she gets a hired gun that she sees advertised on a poster. That gunman is Kid Shalene. She makes a $50 payment to him with her merchandise sight unseen. As time goes on, she learns that he's not everything that he advertises himself to be. Cat's mission then changes from protection to retaliation, and it leads to her own life of crime. Lee Marvin is absolutely fun to watch in his dual role. He earned just $30,000 for his work on this film. Following his Oscar win, he earned about $1 million for his 1969 film, Paint Your Wagon. During his acceptance speech for the Oscar, he opened by saying that half of this award probably belongs to a horse out in the valley somewhere. He's referring to the scene where he and the horse are both intoxicated, leaning up against a building. Modern-day audiences regard his Oscar win for this comedy with a bit of puzzlement, especially given the heavy-hitting dramas that were released that same year. At that time, his over-the-top portrayal of two totally opposite brothers was a revelation following a career playing one-note heavies. The actor had never really had an opportunity to show his lighter side, and the audiences loved what they saw, to the point where his nomination that year was for this movie rather than the far more prestigious Ship of Fools. His larger-than-life personality and fondness for really tipping back the bottle made the actor an irresistible presence on the set. Dwayne Hickman, who starred in the film with him, said it was an unbelievable experience working with him. He said that he had never met such an outrageous personality, and that he absolutely loved to drink, and the more he drank, the more outrageous he became, and that he had a story about everything and everybody that he loved to share during these times. He had very definite theories on his acting and a style that was all his own, and it was definitely known that he used alcohol to enhance his performance as the drunken Kid Shalene. For instance, the very first scene that Marvin shot was the one in which everyone meets Kid Shalene for the first time, and he's falling down drunk. He rehearsed this several times, and then went behind the barn and took a shot of vodka to steel himself. Dwayne Hickman then ran into him in front of his dressing room where he had just gotten sick and thrown up, and Hickman asked him if he was all right. In typical Lee Marvin fashion, he he responded back to him by saying, "That's all just tension, baby. Just a little tension." The film's horse trainer told the director that the scene where a horse leans against a wall with his front legs crossed would not be able to be shot because horses just don't cross their legs. But he thought that it might be possible if he had at least a couple of days to work with the horse. The director immediately told him that you've got 1 hour to get the horse to do that, or we'll find someone else. The trainer coaxed the horse with sugar cubes while repeatedly pushing his leg into position. They were eventually able to get this classic shot for the film. According to Jane Fonda, production moved at a real brisk pace, and it seemed that they never took more than 2 takes, unless the camera broke down. The producers had been working them overtime day after day, until all of a sudden, one morning, Lee Marvin took Jane aside and told her that they were the stars of the movie and that they shouldn't allow this to happen, that the little guys on the film didn't have the power to stop it, but that they did, and they decided to confront the producers about it. They decided to say no when they wanted them to work overtime. Jane Fonda has stated that while she was doing the movie, she thought it was at least a good film, but she didn't have any idea that she was making a classic at the time. It wasn't until she saw the final cut that she realized that they had a massive hit on their hands. She hadn't been around when they filmed Lee's scene on the horse leaning against the barn, and that in itself created somewhat of a classic image of this film. While Lee Marvin's drunken antics on the set kept most of the cast and crew laughing, it didn't find a fan in co-star Jane Fonda, who had the job of playing her character straight while the others got to ham it up. She took her role very seriously. Marvin was always trying to joke with her and make her lighten up on the set. At the time, she was less enthusiastic about the film, and she really didn't want to do it at all. She wanted to do more serious work and was pretty upset about playing the straight man to a bunch of crazy characters. This just wasn't her idea of great filmmaking. She eventually changed her mind after she saw the finished product. Go back and watch this classic film from the mid-60s. It won't disappoint you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.